say, peace upon you. In the Semitic mind, this notion of shalom is not just a cessation from hostilities, it's a wholesomeness, it's a way of being. And at the beginning of this Advent, it's worth looking into. We have a choice as we go through life. Will I be in peace or not? There are several levels. The inner peace, which is linked with the peace with God. For if there is no peace of conscience, peace of heart, that cannot be there. And one sees the symptoms of it not being there by people who escape from their interior with whatever works to take them out of there. The big one now is noise. But then there is the peace around us. We have a choice as we engage with other people. Will I or not at this moment be a factor of peace or unpeace? Many souls are their own worst enemy. They don't sow peace because they're not in peace themselves. Is it not true that there's a pattern which soon will emerge? We find a person is not peaceful towards us, but we look further and we see he's not at peace either with other people. So the secret is not to make it our own problem. The problem is on that person's side. The important thing is not to make it worse. It's better to be a victim than an aggressor. But bring that closer to home. A community, an monastic community, always together, or a family, always together, then it becomes more intense. What do we do if we are surrounded by unpeaceful elements all the time? Some opt to walk away. Normally one doesn't walk away, one tries where one is to limit the damage. Already that's a big thing, to limit the damage and not increase it. I know quite a few people who are always in a dysfunctional situation, but they have the secret of not making it ever worse. It's already a great victory. And they find a modus vivendi within that, tolerable, because they have interior resources in which they're able to find the Lord and not to base their happiness on the external. They have an internal refuge, peace of heart, and times of intimacy with Jesus, before the Blessed Sacrament in particular. Often women find themselves in that situation, actually. But with regard to the first reading, the Messianic peace is described by Isaiah actually throughout his book. And we see here a foretaste of the joy of paradise. Paradise, remember, was before the fall, and therefore it's what we're heading for after the resurrection. Paradise regained. Now, we have elements of that in a good monastery, where there is joy and peace. And actually, if one lives in a good, healthy monastery, we'll see actually the animals are somehow in it. An animal growing up in a monastery is usually very trusting. There's only goodness ever around it. But also a good family, there is something of the joy of Eden there. And by the way, children are very close to animals quite often. Animals and children have one thing in common, that they are able to suss people out. They know where there is goodness. A child who grows up in a loving family will be very open and trusting. If not, he'll be nervous. So will an animal. But with regard to this, it can also be seen in a wider context. I think of two. When in Wales, because actually I was talking to Margaret as I came, and she said, yes, Wales is over there. And you can see parts of Wales on a fine day, apparently from not far from here, as from Wales you can see parts of Ireland on a fine day. So in Wales, over the sea, things happened in waves. I know about it from talking to people and reading about it in my own culture. It's from the mid-1700s onwards. The first was 1732, then there was 1764. There were two huge waves of revival, which meant that it ceased to be Anglican and became Free Church. And then there were others in the 1800s, and the last great one was just over a century ago, 1904-05, when the whole country was on its knees in prayer and praise. And in Wales that meant singing and singing and singing and going into harmony. And it was massively healing. And what happened? Well, this kind of thing happened. There was so much prayer and praise as a result of these Welsh revivals that the police force had nothing to do. And they would, because there was nothing to do, form choirs and go into the chapels and have police choirs. Now, that's the fruit of grace. And I was talking to somebody recently saying that Ireland had something of that too, insofar as about 50 years ago, the prisons were not full. When the whole of this land was grace-filled and prayer-filled and living the life of grace sacramentally, with rosary at home, there was far less crime. It was a huge natural fruit of God being in command. And it's only in our time that we have found that this massive rise in criminality is around with all the prisons full. It wasn't like that before. And also there was a trustingness and a goodness. People left their houses open. And I think you would have had the tail end of that. Ireland was peaceful. And time had time to be. Well, in a situation also in America, I was just talking about this to friends of mine who now and again phone for spiritual direction from America. You can do that cheaply now. They're big into prayer, and they have moved recently to a place where the whole town is massively grace-filled. It's a phenomenon, and it stands out. And they all go to church. And the result is that the last crime was 2011, and it was only a tiny one. It's grace having an effect on society. And that was the project of God. I leave you with this, my friends. We need to be also elements of that where we are, not dramatically, but simply. How can I heal here? How can I be grace transmitted here? There are simple ways. Love well. Give simple, not complicated, simple joys. Cultivate the meds that God has given us, the sense of humour. Don't take things cosmically. Everything is not cosmic. It's a secret, because when one takes everything at the same level of seriousness, we'll never